everybody. How we doing out there? Doc Severson and Mav with you here today. Ready, Set Live, Ready, Set Crypto. Today is what, Wednesday, the 24th of April, at least for another couple of hours here where we are.
Yeah.
Several hours where Mav is. He's on the other side of the planet over there in California.
Well,
hello, everybody.
Relatively speaking.
Let's see. We got a good day. We have a yo. A yo is like a universal greeting. It actually, it's kind of funny behind that. It's like I don't think anybody outside of Philadelphia had ever heard of the term yo before the Rocky movie came out in '76. What's up, Doc? Roger Moore. Hey, I loved you in Octopussy. That was a great movie.
You're really dating yourself.
Yeah, I am, definitely. Hey, how are we doing out there, guys? I want to make sure everything is working. If you can hear us okay. Hopefully I'm not sitting in one speaker this week, that we have both sides of your brain engaged. Guys, be careful. Binance coin will dump. Uh-oh. Okay, so tonight we have a couple of things for you guys here today. We'll be here maybe for about, maybe 20, 30 minutes or so. We're going to keep things quick and to the point here. So let's see. Shall we talk about the charts first? Oh my God, we had a red candle today with about an hour left to go. People are freaking out, and it's so funny because you start reading the sludge feed and Cointelegraph and sites like that.
4chan.
Yeah. And it's like people are like, oh my God, this is over. It's over, you know. And we just have one red candle. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So if I could draw something here, I'll actually draw this on the screen. I'm not going to draw on top of you, Mav. But so I'm going to freeze everybody here. But it's okay if we pull back a little bit, right? And so I talked about maybe that 4,700 level, that if it bounces there, awesome. Because what that's going to do is stoke up the negativity. We're going to see the bears. Absolutely. The BTC USD shorts will go sky high, and that will be a good thing. Okay, so I'll unfreeze that. But if that level does not hold, we're probably heading back down to 4,200 again, which, again, is not a bad thing. I think anything that this does to shake off the pikers is a good thing, and that's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. So this is still very much a big cap rally. This is not an altcoin. This is not for the junior set. This is, it's not its time yet. And if you go back to 2017, 2016, like that, you know, altcoins would go through their phases. We go through sector rotation back and forth, but it's not the altcoin season yet. So what are you seeing from your end there, Mav?
Well, I think you bring up a really interesting point there. I was just reflecting on this today that, what is it, 15 months we've been in a bear market now, and among the large caps, among the top 20, 25 or so, I mean, really, realistically, how many of those have changed position or, you know, been knocked out or entered the top 25? Really, very few. There's not a lot of, I wouldn't say churn, but yeah, it's been pretty consistent. I would say as well as you possibly could. Riding in the large caps for this bear market has definitely been the right move. So, but in the short term, because that's what everybody cares about. In terms of what I'm seeing from sort of the fundamental side, definitely I agree with you that we're kind of in a position to see some volatility, I suppose, maybe return back to the 4,000 level based on just the greed. If you look at the fear greed index, it is very, very much in the greed territory. And that tells me that there's going to be blood on the streets next week.
Do you have a number for that? I haven't seen that one lately. Is it above 80?
There's one I like to use. It's the alternative.me. I think if you just type in Google fear greed index cryptocurrency, it should be like the top one that comes up. It's at 68 today, and it's been about that for like the last week. At least I think it's at 68. It's in the 60s. Let's say that.
Oh,
Um,
that's a Goldilocks number, man.
yeah.
It
What's
is.
interesting?
Not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah. What's interesting is that where we were about 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, especially around the November timeframe, December timeframe, that was the lowest that we've been at throughout the entirety of the bear market. And now we are back to just as high as we were in February and May of 2018 when we were, definitely in the euphoria phase. So yes, there is a definite feeling, or a definite fundamental feeling to say that yes, we could see a little bit of blood in the streets here, return to fear. But what's interesting, and this just came to my attention right before we went live, we just saw 300 million in tether printed. So that could be a little bit of a I don't know. It could drive prices higher. It really hasn't done a whole lot of that throughout the bear market. There's been a couple times where there's been a correlation or two, but it really just doesn't have the power it once had to prop up the market as crypto's central bank unofficially. So, and it's only about 75% of the total stablecoin market at this point, whereas a year ago it was 100%. So yeah, the dynamics have definitely changed from last year. I hopefully we'll see some positivity leading into the summer months. Consensus is a couple of weeks away, which I'm going to, which that should be fun. It's going to be purely academic, but yeah, I think we're getting close to there's definitely some positivity returning to space, even if price isn't showing that just yet. Even if we're still kind of in this holding pattern. I think we're seeing the right dynamics starting to emerge. Where just today, Samsung is working on their own uh, blockchain project based off Ethereum. That's a really big piece of news. Brave is now turning on its ads, and there's many other developments in the regulatory field, and what we're seeing with digital securities and all that sort of stuff. So I think we're just in a much better place than we were, a year ago, even 2 years ago. It's just a very different space too. So,
So talk to me here about from the point of view of a Bitcoin maximalist. Can you give us a point counterpoint in terms of that? Has anything changed, or has it gotten even more so like that?
yeah, that's a really interesting another perspective to take into consideration here is really the role of Bitcoin, and has it really changed throughout these past 2 years? Certainly, I remember June of 2017, we were like getting really close to the flippening event where Ethereum was possibly going to overtake Bitcoin, and what that could have led to, or the implications behind that. But I think at this point, we certainly, after I saw the SegWit 2x kind of blow up, and just kind of the work that we've seen since then on scaling solutions like Lightning Network. Yeah, I think the role of Bitcoin at this point is to be the steward of the crypto space. And if you want to talk about valuation, it really comes down to Metcalfe's law, and the proliferation of the largest network that wins. Basically, it's the biggest network that over time is continues to get bigger. Bigger fish in a bigger pond or whatever. So at this point, I don't know. I don't exactly take a maximalist position. I do believe that there is room for other projects, other platforms. There's the stratification of the different possibilities that blockchain, distributed ledger technology brings to the table. You simply just can't capture that in any essence on one chain, or even if you try to extrapolate off chain. I don't see it yet. I don't see that. We're not even near that point yet. So yeah, we're gonna definitely see. At this point, I don't see Bitcoin being usurped at any point in the near future, or it somehow losing relevance just out of the blue. But that's not to say that all coins have no value. I think there's space for both.
I've noticed something over the last couple of weeks, and I think this in today's newsletter, I think was the first time I talked about this. If you look at the rally that we've had this month, going back a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
what was the main
Catalyst.
yeah, well, no, not the main catalyst, but the top 10 coin that really led everything?
Mm.
I would say by far Litecoin, believe it or not. Litecoin was really, by far blew up. Certainly we had a nice rally in Bitcoin and everything, and it's certainly been very strong. But notice how what I'm struggling to analogize here is that in the equities market, we have what's called a canary in a coal mine. And the canary in the coal mine, for those of you that are not aware of the historical perspective of that, is with the old coal miners, there is, I forget which exact gas that is down in the coal mines, but it's odorless, it's colorless, and it's deadly. And so what they would do is they would bring down a canary in a little cage, and when the canary would, knock out, I think it was carbon monoxide actually, then they would get the heck out of there because it's like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Well, in the equities market, that is the Russell 2000. It is a small cap index, which is in some ways a leading indicator because it leads the rest of the market up and it leads the rest of the market down. Because of there's certain reasons why it does that, because it's considered more risky money. So Litecoin to me has become the Russell 2000 or the canary in the coal mine for the crypto market, especially with the big caps, right? Because it certainly led everything to the upside, and right now it's leading things down right now, which is okay. We do want a pullback. We want to see the weak hands shaken off of this market. So you've got to take one step back to take two steps forward. So that's one interesting thing that I saw over the last couple of weeks is that we might be able to use Litecoin as kind of a leading indicator, if you will, for the health of the big cap market.
Yeah, and we also saw Bitcoin Cash doing a little bit of its thing too. There's I really don't get in between sort of this almost religious debate between what's better or what deserves to be Bitcoin or the central I don't I think there's room for multiple cryptocurrencies. I think in a world where we have atomic swaps and decentralized exchanges and a lot of the other scaling solutions that are being worked on, it just doesn't matter anymore. This is a very different space than 2015, for example. And especially as we start to see more institutions move into the space, more developments in terms of digital securities, and what's being built on Ethereum right now with decentralized finance. I just don't see the need or the necessity of this religious kind of back and forth between like, oh, my coin is the best, your coin sucks, it just we've kind of moved beyond that as a space. Don't get me wrong, there's still a need to look into a coin, defend a coin, make sure that a coin has legitimacy. That's what I tried to do this week with my video on Binance, is to say, look, I'm not about to say, oh, BNB token is a shitcoin and it's a scam or it's the next BitConnect or whatever. Like, it's obviously done very well, probably the best, at least in the top 100 so far as I'm aware. And yeah, they've done a lot to push the space forward, and CZ is obviously very outspoken, and you get metrics or news articles saying like Binance is 200 people, this company of 200 people netted more profit than Deutsche Bank, which has 100,000 and is a worldwide organization. That turns heads, and that gets people interested to say, okay, what's going on in this crypto space? And obviously, what I was also trying to bring up is the fact that yes, Binance Chain is it's just unfortunate. I feel the direction they're going in, which is centralized and very much controlling, and just not exactly the tenets that I believe are indicative to blockchain, distributed ledger technology, true decentralization, what have you. But they are a means to a certain end, and Binance is going to do what it needs to do to stay relevant, especially as we just heard yesterday. What was it? Was it TD Ameritrade that was dabbling in
Eris X, buddy.
yeah, which I've been talking about for a while now. Yeah, like these things are coming. Backed is coming. ErisX is coming. Bitcoin ETF is coming.
It's gonna be a flood. I mean, it's like finally we've got Digitex, which is releasing next week.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of funny because if you look at the price of the Digitex token over the last couple of days, it's absolutely crashed. It's given back a lot of it because some people got wind up their skirt that they were only going to leave or to include the first 5,000 into the release next week, which is sort of underwhelming. But I think Adam, if you listen to Adam Todd, who is the CEO of there, if you can get past his expletives and his salt, he's been very forthright about saying exactly that they're going to do a very controlled release of this. So for those of you that don't know, Digitex is going to be a futures broker, which will be commission free, which is pretty awesome. So especially, and the other thing that's really cool about it is that it's got an API. We can hook a bot to it.
Yeah.
So we can literally have this thing trading 24 hours a day, commission free, which is one of the biggest sources of friction on any trading strategy is the slippage, is the commissions, is that, that sandpaper that rubs against your trade that just prevents it from getting anywhere. So that is going to be really cool. I also don't know if you guys saw, but I put a video about Hero this week, which is sort of tongue in cheek because a lot of people don't consider it to be truly crypto trading. And it actually is. There actually is a science and an art behind it. It is not just one-armed bandit gambling. There are people that are making a tremendous amount of money on Hero right now after just a couple of months. So there is some skill behind it, and it's got me intrigued. I don't know if I want to spend enough time to hack that. But I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing to make money on it, and it is possible to do quite well with it. So a lot of really interesting things happening just on the trading space coming up. I said at the beginning of this year that 2019 is going to be the year of the derivative, and so far that has been the case.
Yeah. What is a derivative for people who don't know?
A derivative is if you look up what derivative means in, if you just look up on Webster, it is, it's sort of a copy of something. It's a facsimile of something else. So there's what's called the underlying or the spot currency, which is Bitcoin, the spot currency, which trades in several spot brokerages, which you guys are aware of. But there's also futures contracts. And what we're going to see probably in 2020 more pervasively is options will come to bear. And that is going to be where things get really, really interesting. If you're willing to learn about them, all of a sudden you can turn yourself into an insurance company and be very, very conservative about how you create income.
That's interesting. Do you feel just over the next year, do you feel that we're going to see sort of just an explosion of the derivatives, options, just different trading vehicles like that?
Well, yeah, because the problem right now with the equities market is enormous. I mean, the S&P 500 is worth $30 trillion, right? It's just, cryptocurrency is just, a tiny little rosebud compared to the equities market. But right now, it's very difficult to find edge in the equities market, and money always flows into opportunity. There's never a bear market on money. So that will flow into opportunity. And I believe as we get derivatives, because derivatives are used by institutions for risk management, risk control. They are not being used in the same way that the retail money uses them, which is for speculation and gambling purposes. Nope, they use options for risk control. So once institutions can actually manage their risk properly in the spot markets, boom, in comes the money.
Right on. Yeah, I think we're on the precipice of some really interesting developments. Yeah, it gets me excited to think about a world where, there is sort of this, not even just decentralized, but like we're pushing the envelope on what is finance, and we're doing all these things in terms of financial engineering that we just haven't had the ability to do before, or we're rethinking things, and that's to me what embodies this space, is that innovation ethos, and just finding different ways to creatively build these sort of products or vehicles or what have you. I think it's one of the most redeeming and like exciting parts about this space. So yeah, guys, buckle up, because it's about to get really interesting. But at the same time, you've also got to understand that it's not just crypto anymore. We're spreading out, and we're finding these different, almost it's like it started with Bitcoin, it became something else. We saw it move into more cryptocurrencies, and now we're adding another layer of abstraction, or building upon it, if you will. And that's the same way that the internet was built. It started kind of small, if you will, and it just kind of kept building and building, and it touches so many facets of our lives in this day and age, and it's only getting started. I mean, we've only lived through 20 years of the modern internet, and that alone is going to really change, especially when you consider the advancements that are being done with blockchain right now, and AI, and just all this sort of stuff that's going on. So yeah, I think what Doc and I, and what Readyset Crypto represents is trying to stay in front of this sort of tidal wave that I see coming, and this sort of technological renaissance that is just incredibly exciting. The possibilities that are fronted to us. We aim to be the investor education platform of this new digital economy, and certainly the token economy is going to be just unreal. I think there's
that's such a great point, because it's like what you just said is the key towards everybody. Mm-hmm. Things are moving in. Let's see if I can do this right. No, it's going to be this way, right? It's a hockey stick. It's a hockey stick curve, man. It's like rapid learning, like almost like going back to the Matrix and plugging something in the back of your head, and like, that's what you're going to need to stay up on with this market, because change is going to become so massive and so rapid. Mm-hmm. I think somebody said something like the change in the cryptocurrency market is actually 15 times faster than it was during the tech bubble of 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's even getting faster than that now. Yeah. Hey, a live stream without Crypto Don Juan is like a day without sunshine. How are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
Crypto Don Juan. It's like, it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy to see Crypto Don Juan in there. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
Hey, somebody's got a great question about manipulation and derivatives. Now, I tend to get kind of salty with this question, because, look, there is not one single financial market that's out there that is not manipulated. If you had billions in currency that you could move in and out of a market, you would manipulate it too. It just is a fact of life, no matter what market it is. Even a $30 trillion market like the S&P 500 is manipulated by institutions. We've just gotten used to playing along with it. I am the remora that swims alongside the shark and cleans up after their scraps. That's just the way it is. So a lot of people get all bent out of shape, these goddamn whales and everything like that. No, you need the whales. You need them. And it's your job to learn how to play along with them and not try to fight the purpose of them. And one of the videos that I made last week was about not running with the herd. And that's one of the things that people have to learn. If you're going to be trading a publicly accessible financial market, you have to learn how to be contrarian and not get stepped on in this market. So, I could go on and on about that stuff, guys, but just make sure you're smart with what you do. Don't trade with the herd.
There's some landmines in the comments. Shorting needs to be removed.
No. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Don't get me started on this, guys, because look, if you want an example of that, go back to September 19th of 2008. I know the date exactly because it was a nightmare. That is when the Securities and Exchange Commission came out with an edict that said, thou shalt not hold any financial stocks naked short. And they came out with that at night. And so the next morning, anybody that was naked short issues of the financial stocks had to cover, which sent them straight up. What happened the next week to financial stocks? Boom, we got destroyed. That was part of the financial crisis that occurred. And that was a government that tried to come in and stay heavy to protect, but you don't want to do that. What we saw 2 weeks ago was a financial short squeeze in the cryptocurrency market. You need the shorts. You need both sides. You can't exist only on the longs.
There's a question about, if the next dip is going to be the bottom. And I'm going to answer this from the perspective of just the fundamentals and sort of long term. Guys, we are at the bottom in terms of technological development and this space, and like I said, this technological renaissance. The only consistent thing over time is that humans will continue to innovate and will continue to build and continue to make progress. And if you feel that this space and the technological innovation will still be around in 5, 10, 15 years, we'll obviously have made advancements and innovations over that time period. So yes, we may not be at the bottom in terms of price, but I think we're certainly just getting started in terms of the potential of the space. It's only been around for 10 years. That's why I kind of laugh when people are trying to say, Bitcoin is look at it's hardly done anything, or it's only been around for 10 years. Like, it hasn't had a chance to even get the training wheels off. So I think we're just starting to see the potential of this space, the potential of this technology, the potential of where we are going. So that's my piece on that. 2 satoshis.
So yeah, this is actually a good time to transition into the questions. So we'll take questions here for about another 5 minutes, and then we will bid you guys adieu for the evening. That's my it's about as well as I can do French. Let's see. So Cash 1020 is wondering why we bother with the daily analysis. Like, why not just buy and hold, or hodl in this space? That's certainly an alternative for you. So some people, depends on your timeline. Maybe you don't have the time to do that. Maybe you've got the skills to be able to actively trade in and out of assets and not necessarily hold them as they go down in value. Maybe you're just going to look for assets that are rising in value and invest in those. Look, one thing you have to decide early on is whether or not you're an investor and have a very long time frame, or whether you're a trader and you're okay with trading in and out of assets. It's almost a different religion behind things. Some people can actually stack them on top of each other. Like, okay, with one pile of money, I'm going to be just an investor. I'm just going to be like one of the guys on our team is just every week, he's just dollar cost averaging satoshis. That's it. Boom. Bitcoin every week. He doesn't care what price he gets into it because he's got a long enough time frame. And quite honestly, he's young enough that it doesn't matter. Over a long enough time frame, it doesn't matter. But if you're on a shorter time frame, if you have access to markets, if you've got skills, then actually actively trading can be quite lucrative. So you just have to decide what camp that you fit into.
All right, I'm going to do a lightning round with some of these questions. Thoughts on Binance? It's a good short-term buy. It historically has performed really well. That said, I think it's a shitcoin central, and they're just going to strong arm projects into going onto their chain, and I don't support that. I don't support what they're doing, but I see, they're filling a need, or they're filling their need. So just be careful with that, and especially do not keep coins on Binance if you're investing. Obviously, if you're doing short-term trades, etc. Let's see.
Fergus keeps asking about Litecoin and Dev and stuff like that. They're definitely not my specialty.
Yeah, I think we've seen development on a lot of projects, not being a standstill, but yeah, I think we're sort of in this, coming into this sort of cathartic period where we do need to see these projects distinguish themselves, and I think that's something that Litecoin and other cryptocurrency projects like it have struggled with. If Litecoin just exists to be the test bed for Bitcoin's future developments, then what does it really serve? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to look into more of that, but yeah, I don't know.
Is the bottom end? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen over the next 6 months. I can't predict the future. All I can do is I can set up price levels to say, I want to see 47 hold as support for a primary bull to stay a primary bull. If 4,700 doesn't hold, 4,200 better hold. If 4,200 does not hold, then we have not seen the bottom yet. So those are the two price levels that I'm making decisions on.
I've gotten a lot of questions about Neo because I went to the DevCon, and I meant to make a follow-up video on it, but I just kind of fell away from me. So here's my official position on my takeaway from that conference. It was okay. It was they said what they needed to, but at the same time, the unspoken thing was, this stuff is hard. Infrastructure is not exactly the most exciting thing. Being a platform kind of sucks because you have to do so many different things at once, and you have to stand out, and you've got it's really cutthroat, and it's just a horse race right now. And like I was talking about earlier regarding Bitcoin and Metcalfe's law and all that sort of stuff, it's going to be the biggest platform that wins. And so to challenge Ethereum, to try to stand out and be distinguished amongst a crowd of very good platforms is really tough. So that's not an abject criticism of Neo itself. They're working on things that I think will pan out over the next couple of years. But at the same time, it's hard to get excited about projects or platforms like that when it's there's not much going on in the short-term interim. So that said, I've always been a fan of platforms because they're going to be the backbone of the decentralized economy of the future. So that was my takeaway. Neither good nor bad. How's that?
Spanish chicken. We all want a bull run, but don't be fooled. Go back in time and look at the other run-ups. Yeah, that's now you can't necessarily. What you find is the lightning never strikes twice in the same place. I mean, every bottom has got its own unique personality. Every market bottom, maybe I should be more specific with that. Every market bottom, it's got its own personality to it. They all bottom out in different ways. Every time everybody looks for one specific way, well, they all double bottom, they all double test, is the time you're just going to see a V bottom off the bottom. But I would feel a lot more comfortable if we had just this ugly, blood-curdling, like screaming, drop to 4,200 that just leaves everybody with a sense of like, holy crap, there we go. That's what you really want in a bottom. Seriously, that's what you want in a bottom, because you got to flush the pikers out for this thing to really take off.
Yeah. There's a question on EOS. There's a question on Walton Chain. There's a couple of questions on Cardano. Because they're all platforms, I'll kind of lump it all together. basically going off of what I was just talking about with Neo, it's at this point I want platforms to distinguish themselves, to find that niche, and it's tough. There's a lot of competition out there. It's a really complicated technology. Definitely short term Cardano, I wouldn't, I wouldn't count on it to make any big moves because they're working on the long term, and that's good. I like to see that, but I'd also like to see that them have something presentable, because to be in the top 10 without, like a real working product out there is a little bit, I don't know. But yeah, that's not saying they're a bad project or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that they each bring something different to the table, and that's good. But I don't know. I think this next iteration, this next bull run is going to be very different than the one before. I think it won't be this sort of just like massive, crazy hype cycle. It'll be more sustained growth, and that's what we need as a space overall. So it's going to be projects that have, products or, active development like EOS, like Cardano, like Walton Chain, that are going to stick around and make it because what we're in right now is a period where a lot of these projects, which are essentially startups, are running out of their runway. Because the market really hasn't recovered over the last 15 months. And, many of these projects were backed in Ethereum or et cetera. They're running out of capital, and so it's going to be very important for them to be able to start making revenue or find some way to sustain themselves. That's what I really am concerned with regarding projects and investments over the next couple of years. It's just, can they survive? So yeah, if you can answer that question in the affirmative, I think then it's a good project. But obviously, notwithstanding of intent or anything like that. So cool.
All right, why don't we pick one more? Speaking of running out of runway here, let's
Yeah.
let's pick one more question. Somebody thinks that I look like Lando Calrissian's number 2 guy from Empire Strikes Back.
Someone leaves that. Someone leaves that comment every time we do the live.
I've never seen that before. I'd never considered that. Like he was a pretty cool guy. So
I don't think he had any speaking lines, did he?
no, he didn't. He just like looked at something and all of a sudden, wow, I never knew. All right, so off to you. Last question.
Yeah, there's also a couple of questions just regarding like top coins or anything like that, and or like having a list of coins. And I've kind of tried to stay away from doing videos like that because again, I think the space is kind of necessitating that we move a little bit away from this sort of like, oh, what's going to be the next sleeper hit crypto or anything like that. That being said, I know how exciting those kind of videos are, and I know how exciting it is to say, like, hey, I really believe in this project, or I think this one's about to break out. So if you want my genuine answer on, what is going to be the projects that break out, that have some price action, because we are starting to watch the market do that, and that's exciting. Go to a website like coinmarketcal.com, look for upcoming mainnet releases, upcoming, big product developments or anything like that. DGTX, great example, releasing at the end of the month. And so long as there's no delay again, that should be a perfect buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. But yeah, I don't know. Just look for intent or value like that, and yeah, you should be well situated. So I don't know. It's tough. It's a speculative market still. We're transitioning to utility value. I highly recommend you read Chris what is it? Berninsky's? Yeah. Berninsky's book on crypto assets, because it goes into sort of this valuation model of, how do you value crypto assets? How do you look at them from that perspective? And it's really well written. And it sort of precedes a lot of what's happened in the last 2 years. but I always go back to it because I think it's such a solid example of how to look at a project, how to look at this space, this new asset class, and I think it's really interesting. And you can find it, just search for PDF, and you can find it. It's free. I don't know. Yeah, let's see. Let's kind of finish up with some kind of thoughts or resources or things we should point people towards.
Well, we would always love to see people join us with our Omnia service. So
Yeah.
if you like hearing from us, if you resonate with us, it's like we've got how many classes do we have now? We've got
12?
12
Yeah.
classes
Yeah.
of everything. So we're adding what we're actually moving towards is a three-tier structure for our classes. We're going to do micro classes. So we've got more contributors than just us two on here with some really sharp guys. And so
Yeah.
we're going to have micro classes, which is going to be like a 1 hour class on something very targeted. And we may even consider doing some of those for free as well too. So just to get people on board and just to see what we can do. We've also got standard classes, and my next standard class is actually going to be trading a small account. So there are actually very specific things that you have to do to trade a small account and be successful with that. So that comes out the second week in May. And Mav is just finishing up his DeFi class, decentralized finance.
Yeah.
And then later on this summer, I'm going to be doing a class on trading bots through 3 commas. That's going to be exciting. So there's just a ton of stuff going on right now. We're just trying to stay up with demand. So consider joining us and adding to our awesome community because, wow, it's amazing what can happen when you get a lot of different eyes on something. It's
Yeah.
these guys are nipping up my heels. It's like there's a lot of very talented folks in the room.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the community that we've built. And even the guys that are on this YouTube live stream, I think we've really got an awesome community. And by the way, Crypto Deathmark, happy birthday! The Discord that we've got through our Omnia service is just every day we've got value. People are posting different things, and there's no shilling, which is I'm very I make sure that there's none of that. So yeah, personally, I'm just very proud of the community that we built, and this is like I said, this is just the start of this ecosystem that we're trying to build here with Readyset Crypto, because we want to be the investor education portal of this new digital economy. We want to be the Khan Academy of new investor education. And I think we have the opportunity, with the help of you guys, to build something really, really awesome. So thank you for being a part of this, for watching the videos, being part of this live stream. It's an honor and privilege to be able to do this. And from the start, when I started this channel, I said I wanted something different. There's a bunch of people pushing BitConnect on YouTube, and I said there has to be a better way. I want to make the videos that I would want to see, and just to do things in a moral sense, and to not take ICO money, to have research focused videos. I think that was my intent when I started this channel in the summer of 2017, and I've never strayed from that path, and that will continue to be what we do in the future. So don't expect us to certainly change our tune anytime soon, because we do this every day for you guys. We do this for this space, for the future of cryptocurrency, because we feel that this is necessary. That we need to foster this sort of community, to foster the discussion and the dialogue that we engage on a daily basis. And sometimes we get called boring, or I don't know. There's a lot of detractors or people who want us to do it a different way, but we're not going to do that. We're going to stay on what we feel is the right way to do this. And so all I can say is thank you guys. I really appreciate being a part of this, and taking the time out of your days to join us as we ramble on. And
yeah, we're going to speak the truth. All right. So, Hey everybody, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate it. And if it's okay with you guys, we may continue doing these on a weekly basis. Let us know what you think if you'd like us to do this. So, all right, I'm going to pull the plug. So everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. And I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions. If you want to reach out to us offline, you could certainly do that. support@readysetcrypto.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Good morning. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.
And we will be seeing you down the road. Hopefully next week. Take care now.
There goes a sight from my soul.